Hey there, and here comes the next part in the Halloween retrospectives, and this one is Halloween H2O, 20 years later. So, after the huge flop of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, a film that saw a very limited theatrical release, and most people, myself included, was extremely surprised to walk into a video store and just kind of see it on the shelf. It would take a lot to get the Halloween series back on track again. For one thing, we had lost Donald Pleasence, who was the heart of the series. Daniel Harris's character had gone and been killed off. You'd really need something serious to bring back the film. And they went to Carpenter and asked the Carpenter if he'd be interested. And at the time, Carpenter said he was kind of interested in doing the film. But things happened, and unfortunately Carpenter didn't do the film, and he actually regretted not doing it afterwards. H2O brought Jamie Lee Curtis back into the Halloween franchise. After being killed off in Part 4, off screen of course, we're told that her character had actually only kind of faked her death to kind of like get away from the whole Michael Myers thing. Unfortunately, that the whole Jamie Lloyd thing was not really addressed, so some people like to think that that H2O, because of this fact, actually ignores the previous sequels, and that seems to be the going general consensus. But some later reports have said that it's actually not ignoring the other sequels. But it's kind of hard to believe that she would let her kid die like that. But then again, the Laurie Strode character has become very much a damaged character, which we'll get into in a little bit. But so H2O had to be pretty special. They got back Jamie Lee Curtis, but they needed the right script writer because they were not going to do what happened last time, which wasn't Daniel Farran's fault, but it was Joe Chappelle's, the director. So everything had to click in the right place. This time around, they got Kim Williamson, who had been famous for doing Dawson's Creek and Scream. Both have been extremely popular, and he had a way of writing dialogue that really resonated at the time, and still does to this day. The only problem was the director. John Carpenter was kind of attached to it, and then he wasn't, so they had to get somebody that knew the horror genre and someone that actually they could feel comfortable within the director's chair. So out came Steve Miner. Steve Miner had been an associate producer back in the day on Last House on the Left, and later on in the first Friday the 13th film, before taking on the reins of the director of Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3. He would go on from that to do a lot of popular television shows like The Wonder Years, and then actually win awards and become a very prolific TV director. Steve Miner came in to do H2O and actually does an extremely good job of it. H2O had pretty much an all-star cast. We've got Jamie Lee Curtis, Josh Hartnett is premiering as her son John Tate, Michelle Williams from, of course, the popular at the time Dawson's Creek was brought into it. We have LL Cool J, because this would be a problem later on in the series, by the way. And if Joseph Gordon-Levitt would have a cameo in the film as well, they would bring back the actor that played the nurse for a scene, and we would get kind of a Dr. Loomis type of a voiceover. No, it's not Donald Pleasence that we hear. It's actually Tom Kane, and Tom Kane is a famous voice actor. He did let's see. He was the voice of Commissioner Gordon in The Brave and Bold. I think he was the voice of Magneto in Wolverine and the X-Men. And he was probably, let me see if I can get it up here. He was the voice of Ultron in the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Doctor Doom and Spider-Man. So for the little bit that he had to do, it was pretty good. But also we get Janet Leigh working with Jamie Lee Curtis again, and this is the first time that's happened since The Fog, I think. And Adam Arkin as well has a thankless role in here. Chris Durand, I think is was a Canadian stuntman, and he took over the role of Michael Myers, and he did quite a good job with it. If I didn't mention it in the last one, George P. Wilbur, that did part 4, came back to do part 6 of Curse of Michael Myers, playing Michael Myers. So just an aside there for 1 second. The film pretty much is set up at this secluded boarding school. She's changed her name now, and she's going under the name of Carrie, right? Carrie? Yeah, Carrie Tate. And we see that Michael Myers is making his way, somehow, actually not somehow, has gone into Loomis is dead. He's gone to Loomis's house. He's discovered that Jamie Lee Curtis's character is not actually dead. Her name is changed, and she has a son. So Michael Myers is back on the warpath, going after his sister again, and now her son as well. Her son has been begging to go away on a trip with his girlfriend, and her character over this time has become pretty much, she's been abusing alcohol. There's kind of a hint that she may have had a drug problem too earlier on in the earlier in her life before the films happened. And she's a damaged character, and she's very overprotective of her son. She is dating Alan Arkin's character, who's a teacher at school. I think it's a teacher at school. And she's pretty messed up. So she finally relents and lets her son go on the trip, but not thinking his mother was going to let him go anyway. He actually pretends to go and decides to stay with his friends and have have a party at this at the boarding school when everybody else is gone. So basically, we've got Alan Arkin and Jamie Lee Curtis and Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams, his girlfriend, and the 2 other characters. What were their names? Sarah and Charlie. One played by Julianne O'Keefe and Adam Han Bird. So basically, the other couple is there to get killed off. LL Cool J provides maybe comedic relief, I guess, and just a little bit of more street cred to the Halloween series, which was going to become more disturbing down the road. We get to see Janet Leigh in a slight cameo, where she pretty much does her. It's a wink to her Psycho roots, even as much as showing the car from Psycho that she drove, and calling her Norma. So yeah, it doesn't get much more blatant than that. The film is actually pretty good. It's paced pretty well, and the original script of the film actually had 2 FBI profilers in the film as well that were looking for Michael Myers. That was taken out of the script, and instead it focused more tightly on Jamie Lee Curtis and her son. The movie follows the basically Michael Myers' re-emergence into Jamie Lee Curtis's character, into Laurie's life, and how he tries to kill. But it kind of gives it's a rebirth for her character. Her character gets to basically stop running, own who she is, and face the demons that have been haunting her for years, both figuratively and literally. We will see her boyfriend be killed in this one. We'll see many of the teens be killed, but we'll never see Josh Hartnett's character again. Really, it won't be spoke of much either, which is a shame because, like the Tommy Doyle character before him, it was an interesting character played by an actor that did some decent stuff afterwards, and had that kind of almost darkness there that would have been really interesting to get more into and to see more of. The movie paces itself fairly well, and although I did not like it as much as Part 4, I could appreciate it for what it was, and I felt that it was a good direction to take the film in. At the end of the movie, she beheads Michael Myers, and a lot of people thought that was pretty fatalistic, that this was the end of Halloween, and this was basically brought it back to Jamie Lee Curtis. She lopped off his head, and that was it. Fans of the franchise like myself and that I'd watched more than one interview with Sapphire Cloud over the years, pretty much knew right away that when she lopped off that head, it wasn't going to be Michael's. So the whole retroactive ending thing for the beginning that you'd see in the next part, no, I can honestly say, and I can say this with a straight face and a clear conscience, that not for 1 second did I believe that she was chopping off Michael Myers' head. And actually, if you go back and you watch the film and the way it's shot, it's pretty obvious in the body movements and stuff that this is not Michael Myers that she's killing. So yeah, it was set up, and quite well, actually. I gotta say, the film overall is one of the benchmarks in the Halloween series. It's a fun film. It helps that Kim Williamson is writing it. The talk from the teens is better than an average horror film, and Kim Williamson is good with that stuff. He's really good with getting the language and the style of speech down. And overall, Miner did a great job in directing this. Chris Duran did a wonderful role in playing the character of Michael Myers, and he did a cool little. There's one scene when he comes up and he kind of lowers himself down from the rafter with one hand. Incredible sequence. One of my favorites in the film, and I always remember it. Now, another thing that's remembered in this is the mask. There had been problems getting the mask done, and the mask was actually made by two completely different masks made by two different people, politics and whatever caused this. So you're going to see the mask look kind of different, and you're going to see it look different again because in one part they actually computerized the front of the mask, and it looks horrible. So, but as we know, over the sequels, the masks have gotten worse and worse. When actually, it's one thing you have to do, and that's use the KISS method on all of this stuff, and that's keep it simple, stupid. It's not a hard thing to do. It's a Halloween film, and it was a pretty good one. H2O revitalized the series, and a lot of people excited after they'd watched it, including actually my dad, who came and seen it and said, "You're probably not going to like it because of the ending," because he'd assumed that that this was the end for Myers, and he knew that I was a huge fan of the Halloween series, and had followed it all through. I was the big Halloween fanboy. So overall, I got to give H2O 20 years later some really great cred. Originally, I think she was supposed to kill him in a pool in water, like spear him. Laundry's done. And that was an interesting concept. I actually read a earlier script, and I love reading the scripts that don't get before they get changed up there, and this helps as a writer as well. But H2O 20 years later, great film. I gotta say, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoy it more now than I did at the time. I find that some of these here, I go in probably with my expectations too high, often, especially when I was younger, or being a guy that had wanted to write a Halloween film. I got my own preconceived notions of what I would have done or what I want to have done, and I'm not always on the same page as the film I'm watching. But H2O, looking back on it and watching it again, I had a lot of fun with it. I actually might have preferred 6 a little more. I know it's almost sacrilege to say this, but the producer's cut anyway. But I did enjoy H2O. It was a really decent entry in the Halloween series. We wouldn't get this again because next up would be the much maligned Halloween Resurrection. And before I get into that, it's seriously time for tea.